What's up, everyone? Welcome to the video. Today we're diving into some powerful money wisdom from the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. If you're ready to level up your finances and learn 7 timeless tips to build real wealth, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Look, there's the richest guy in Babylon, a student whispered, nudging his neighbor. When Arcad stood up, he said, "He's just a man like any of us, a loyal subject of our great king," starting his speech while standing among them, serving the king. "I was once a poor young man burning with a strong desire to get gold, and in that quest, I gained the knowledge that made it possible. I decided to share with you everything I've learned. I started my fortune in a pretty humble way. I didn't have any special advantage beyond what any of you or any other citizen of Babylon has. The first bit of my treasure was a worn-out pouch. I hated seeing it empty and useless. I wanted it to be fat and full. Listening to the sound of gold, I searched for every possible remedy to get a full sack. So, I'll explain to everyone gathered here the 7 solutions for lack of money that I recommend to anyone who dreams of plenty of gold. I'll dedicate each day of the week to one of these remedies. Listen carefully to everything I say, talk it over with me, discuss it among yourselves, and learn these lessons thoroughly so you can also plant the seeds of wealth in your own pockets. First, each of you needs to wisely build your own fortune. Once you've gained enough skills, you'll be ready to move forward. I'm going to teach you some simple truths to fatten up your wallet. This is the first step that leads to the temple of wealth. No one can get there without firmly planting their feet on this initial rung. Now, let's look at the first solution: start making your money grow. Parked turned to a thoughtful man. "On Monday, my good friend, what's your trade?" "I'm a scribe," the man replied. "I record things on clay tablets. That's how I earned my first copper coins." "So, you have the same chance to make a fortune." Then someone with a flushed face a bit further back spoke up. "Please, tell us what you do to earn your bread." "I'm a butcher," he answered. "I herd goats for their owners, slaughter them, sell the meat to housewives, and the hides to leather workers. Once you work and earn your own money regularly, you have the same chance I had to be successful." So, Arcade gathered everyone to find out how each person made their living. After the inquiry, he said, "Dear students, we can see there are many jobs and trades that give people the opportunity to earn. Each of these ways of making money is like a stream of gold flowing to the worker. You can set aside a portion for your own savings, so each of you will have more or fewer coins depending on what you can manage." Everyone agreed to that, so I'll go on. If any of you want to build a fortune, it wouldn't be smart to start by spending that source of wealth you've already built up. Everyone still agreed on that. Then, the richest man in Babylon turned to a humble man who said he was an egg seller and, "If every morning I put in 10 eggs and every night I take out 9 eggs, what do you think will happen over time?" "It will overflow because each day I'm adding more eggs than I'm taking out." Arcade turned to the group with a smile. "All you guys here think you're struggling financially?" At first, the participants just stared, then they laughed, and finally, they got excited, amused. "The little bags they usually carried their coins in, very well," he continued, "now I'm going to tell you the first thing. Here's a trick I learned to fix the problem of not having enough money. Tell the egg seller that for every 10 coins they put in their bags, they shouldn't take out more than 9 for themselves. The bag will start to bulge, and its growing weight will feel great in their hands and bring comfort to their souls. I say this because sometimes the simplest things are the truest. I said I'd tell you how I built my fortune. That was how it all started for me. It was always broken, and I hated that because I couldn't satisfy my desires. But ever since I started taking out no more than 9 coins out of the 10 I used to put in my bag, it began to get heavier. The same thing will happen to you. Now, I'll tell you about a strange truth, though I don't know why. When I stopped spending more than 9 coins from my earnings, my career took off. I wasn't caught off guard anymore. On the contrary, the coins started showing up more often. Frequency is definitely a law of the gods. For those who save and don't spend a certain part of their income, money tends to come more easily. Interestingly, he used to avoid those whose pockets were always empty. What's your biggest desire? The satisfaction of daily wants, a jewel, relief from pain, better clothes, more food, things that quickly come and go and are soon forgotten. Or would you rather dream of more lasting wealth, gold, land, livestock, goods, investments that bring good profits? The coins you use every day can get you your first wishes, and the ones you save get you the second. This, my disciples, was the first solution I found for my lack of money. Out of every 10 coins you get from any source, don't spend more than 9. Discuss this among yourselves, and if anyone can prove this isn't true, we'll talk about it tomorrow when we're together again. The second solution is to control your spending. On the second day, Arca addressed the assemblies with the following message. 2 of my disciples asked me this question: how can someone set aside 1/10 of all their earnings when, in general, their income barely covers necessary expenses? Well, yesterday I asked how many of you had a little extra money, and everyone said yes. But the people here don't all earn the same, some make more than others, and some have bigger families to support. Even so, everyone is equally unprepared. So, I want to talk to you about that. Ordinary truth about men and their children: what we usually call necessary expenses will always grow to match our income unless we do something to stop that from happening. Don't confuse necessary expenses with wants. Each of you and your good families have more wants than your income can cover, so everything you earn goes towards satisfying those wants as they come up, and even then, many remain unmet. Others never truly feel satisfied. The truth is, all men have more desires than they can fulfill. I used to think I could achieve all my wishes and dreams because I'm rich, but that's just a false idea. There are limits to my time, limits to my energy, limits to how far I can travel. There are limits to what I eat, limits to the pleasures in my life. I promise you, just like weeds grow in a field when the farmer leaves space for them, so it is with desires. Roots like these also let desires grow freely in a person's heart, and those who can satisfy them are many, but the ones each of you can actually fulfill are limited. Take a close look at your usual way of living. You'll be sure to find some expenses that can easily be cut down or completely dropped. Kate lives by a real motto: set aside 10% of the estimated value of every coin that leaves your hand. So, make sure to engrave each of these points deeply in your mind. Expenses that can be questioned should be, except for the necessary ones, cancel the rest if their cost doesn't exceed 9/10 of your income. Only consider a part of that huge bunch of wants that can't be satisfied. Don't feel guilty about it. Make a budget for essential expenses and don't touch that 10th that's growing your savings. See your growing savings as a great life goal. Try to stick to a set budget and find ways to make it work for you. Please, try to make him someone who helps protect your growing savings. Right then, one of the students wearing a red outfit stood up and said, "Only a free man, I believe, has the right to enjoy the good things in life. That's why I refuse to submit to a budget that tells me exactly how much I can spend and on what. I think that would take away a lot of the pleasures in my life, making me not much better than a pack mule." To which my friend replied, "Arcade, I would set your budget myself." Faria replied to the man who was complaining that if a pack mule made its own budget, it would include lots of jewelry and heavy gold bars. Of course not, it would only need hay, grains, and a sack of water to cross the desert. The point of a budget is to help you save money, a way to make sure you get what you truly need, and as long as it's affordable, your other wishes too. It's about helping you realize your deepest desires by protecting you from just buying things on a whim. Light shining in a dark cave, the budget reveals the leaks in your pockets, giving you the means to plug them with clear and rewarding solutions. So, this is the second way to tackle the lack of money: make a budget for your expenses so you have enough to pay for what's necessary, enjoy some pleasures, and satisfy your most valuable desires without spending more than 9/10 of your income. The third solution: increase your earnings. That's what Arcade told the students in the third lesson. Guys, look how the money is starting to come in. You've got disciplined about setting aside a tenth of all your earnings and kept your spending in check to protect that growing stash. Now, we need to think about how to put that money to work and make it grow. Having savings feels good and can thrill even the stingiest soul, but it doesn't get you anywhere on its own. The amount we can set aside from our different income sources is just the beginning. Your earnings are what will build our fortunes. So, how can we make our money work for us? My first investment was a total disaster. I lost everything. But later on, when people tell that story, my first profitable investment was a loan I gave to Hagar, the shield maker. Once a year, he would buy huge shipments of bronze that came across the seas to use in his business. Since he didn't have enough capital to pay the merchants, he had to borrow money from those who had extra cash. He was an honest man who always paid back the loan plus a generous interest. Whenever I sold the escudos and met your requests, I also paid the accumulated income from the earlier transactions. That way, not only did my capital grow, but the profits themselves increased even more. It was really rewarding to have all that money coming back. I told my disciples that a man's wealth shouldn't be measured by the coins he manages to save. It's actually found in the profits that some can generate, the steady flow of gold constantly filling his pockets and keeping them full. After all, that's what matters. Every man wants what everyone here wants, an income that keeps growing, whether you're working or traveling. To earn a big income, so big that people see me as extremely rich. My loans to Agua were my first profitable investment training. Gaining experience and wisdom from that, I expanded my client base and investments. When my capital grew at first from a few sources and later many more, it poured into my pocket like a golden flood of wealth that I could use however I wanted. If I understood correctly, from my modest earnings I managed to build up a reserve of golden slaves, each one working to produce more gold. Since they worked for me, their children did the same, and their children's children as well. From this combined effort, a nice income was born. Gold grows fast when you make reasonable profits, as you'll see in the following example. When a farmer's first child was born, he gave the moneylender 10 silver coins and asked him to make them grow for the child until he came of age. When the boy turned 20, the man agreed that the sum would earn interest of a quarter of its value every 4 years. The farmer then asked, since this money was set aside just for his son, that the interest be added to the principal. When the boy turned 20, his father went back to the lender to ask about the silver. The man explained that since the sum had grown with compound interest, the original 10 silver coins had raised to 30.5 coins. The farmer was pretty satisfied, and since his son didn't need the money yet, he left it with the lender. When the son turned 50, and the father had passed away by then, the banker paid the son 167 silver coins to settle the debt. So, in 50 years, the investment grew almost 70 times. Here's the first solution for lack of money: for each coin, make it work so it can multiply like cotton. Fields bringing them profits, a river of wealth flowing constantly into their pockets. The fourth solution: protect your treasure from loss. So said Arcade to his crew on the fourth day of misfortune. Alma, a bright mark, the money a man saves must be held tight, otherwise, it risks disappearing. It's wise to learn how to handle and protect small amounts before the gods trust us with larger sums. Anyone who keeps gold saved often ends up tempted by the hope of gaining more. Big sums are often invested in the most promising projects. Friends and family quickly get interested, but whether or not to go ahead with them right away is another story. A key rule in investing is the safety of the capital. You want to protect your principal. It's smart to avoid chasing high returns when your main money is at risk. Of course, the price of risk is the chance of losing your investment. So, study everything carefully before putting your money in. Don't be fooled by promises that you'll get your money back safely. To trick someone with the romantic dream of getting rich quick, before lending to anyone, make sure the borrower is reliable and has a good reputation for paying back, so you don't accidentally give away something you worked so hard for. Before putting money into any business, be cautious. That's where all the risks lie. My first investment was a disaster. I put my entire year's savings in the hands of a guy named Oliro Asma back then. I was thinking about distant seas and planning to buy the finest jewelry from the Phoenicians in Tyre. When I got back, we'd sell it and split the profits. But those Phoenicians were crooks, they sold me pieces of glass instead. My treasure was lost. Nowadays, my experience would have shown me right away how foolish it was to trust a potter with the job of buying jewelry. That's why I think my advice to you is, don't trust your own knowledge too much, because you might be risking your own treasures. Before diving into risky investments, first get the general opinion of people experienced in profitable businesses. Such advice is free but can be as valuable as the amount you plan to invest. Actually, it's even more valuable because it can save you from losing your money. So, this is the fourth way to handle a lack of money, and it's really important since it helps prevent your savings from going down the drain after growing so much. Protect your treasure from loss. Investing where your principal is safe, where you can withdraw at any time you want, and where it's clear you'll actually earn a good return. Reina Consul has experienced people. Listen to those who regularly handle money. Let their judgment protect your savings from high-risk investments. The fifth solution of the FLAR, a profitable investment. On the fifth day of class, ARCT told the students, if a person sets aside 9 parts of their earnings to use to live and enjoy life, and if any part of it could be invested profitably without harming your well-being, then your wealth would grow fast. Most Babylonians live very poorly with their families, paying outrageous rent to strict landlords for places where their wives don't even have a little corner to plant the flowers that brighten their hearts, and the kids can only play in dark hallways. No family can fully enjoy life unless they have their own place. A piece of land where kids can play in the sun and a wife can plant not just fruit trees but also vegetables to feed her family. What man wouldn't be happy being able to eat the figs from his own fig trees and the grapes from his own vines? Every man should have his own home with a patch of land to take care of and feel proud of, giving heart and energy to all his efforts. That's why I recommend every man have his own roof to count on. A shelter for yourself and your family, having your own home, isn't beyond the reach of a well-meaning man. Our king hasn't extended the city walls that much. There's lots of unused land available that can be bought for pretty reasonable prices. I can vouch for my students that the moneylenders look favorably on the hopes of a man searching for a home, a piece of land for his family. They can easily get a loan to hire a brickmaker and a builder if they have the means. They'll be able to pay the lender a fair part of the amount needed for such a worthy cause once the house is ready, keeping up the payments just like they used to pay their rent. Each payment will slowly chip away at the debt, and in a few years, they won't owe the lender anything. Then, their hearts will be glad because they'll truly own a stable, valuable property, with the only expense being the local taxes. Good wives often go to the river to wash clothes, bringing back a sack of goat skin filled with water to water the crops. This way, many blessings come to the man who owns his own home. It cuts down expenses a lot, letting him spend more of his earnings on pleasures and fulfilling desires. And there's the fifth solution for lack of money. Own your home. The sixth solution, secure an income for the future. Arcade started the sixth lesson with these words. Every person's life goes from childhood to old age. That's the course of life, and no one can change it unless the gods call them early to the afterlife. So, I'm telling you, it's up to each person to make enough money for the future, for the days when they're no longer young, and to make sure their family isn't left struggling when they can't support them anymore. This lesson is about saving up a good reserve for when the time comes. A man less able to learn, who because he understands the rules of wealth gains growing profits, needs to think about the future. He should plan certain investments or savings that will last safely for many years and be available when the time he wisely predicted comes. A man can securely prepare for the future in different ways. He might hide and bury his treasure, but no matter how careful he is, hiding your money this way risks turning into a windfall for thieves, so I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Instead, you can buy houses and land for this purpose, as long as they're carefully chosen based on their usefulness, future value, and potential to stay valuable. They can bring in great returns and you might even find excellent buyers if you decide to sell. You can trust a small amount with a lender and increase it regularly. The interest the lender adds will soon grow your capital. Let me tell you about this sandal maker named Anzan. He told me the other day that for 8 years, every week, he used to trust his moneylender with 2 silver coins. The guy recently did the math and found out that, happily making sandals all this time, the total of his small deposits plus the usual interest, at a rate of a quarter of the amount every 4 years, has now reached 1,040 good silver coins. I was happy to show him, using my number skills, that in 12. It's been years since he started following this routine of saving no more than 2 silver coins each week. The moneylender would pay back 4,000 silver coins, a sum that would set him up comfortably for life. When such a small, consistent payment leads to such a big payoff, you have to admit that anyone can build up a fortune for their old age and to protect their family, no matter how well their business or investments are doing. I wish I could talk more about it. But beyond that, my true belief is that someday, wise men will figure out a way for people to protect themselves against death through small, regular contributions, thus leaving a nice sum for their family after they pass on. I see this as something desirable, worthy of the highest recommendation. But right now, it's not possible because there's no person or member with a long enough lifespan to run such a system, which would have to be as stable as a king's throne. I feel that one day a plan like this will exist and be a huge blessing for many men because even the very first small payment will provide a decent fortune for the families of members who pass away. But since we live in the here and now, not in the days yet to come, we should make the most of the means and methods available to achieve our goals. That's why I recommend that every man wisely and thoughtfully protect himself against running out of resources in his later years. A lack of funds for a man who no longer feels capable of earning money, or for a family without its leader, is a painful tragedy. So, here we have the 6th solution for the lack of money: be the boss when it comes to your old age needs and protecting your family. The 7th solution is to boost your ability to earn. These were Arcade's words to his group on the 7th day. Today, I'll talk with you, my students, about one of the most important remedies for not having enough money, because that's what really matters to me. Today, it's less about the money and more about you guys, the men under the colorful clothes who think you're sitting in front of me. I'll talk about all these things inside the minds and lives of people who either help or hinder each other's success. Not long ago, a young man came to me needing a loan. When I asked why he needed the money, it turned out his income wasn't enough to cover his expenses. So, I explained to him that because of that, he was considered a risky client. For a money lender, since you wouldn't have anything left to pay back the loan, what you need, my young friend, I told him, is a higher income. So, what are you doing to boost your earning potential? All I can do, he replied, is ask my boss for a raise, and I did that 6 times in 2 months, but no luck. I couldn't help but smile at his innocence, but he had one of the most important qualities to increase his earnings: a strong desire to make more money. That's exactly what I praised. Desire is the key to making things happen. Your desires need to be strong and clear. General wishes are just vague hopes. A man who wants to be rich starts with a small goal. When a man wants something like 5 gold coins, he shows a clear purpose that he can actually go after. After focusing his desire on getting those 5 gold coins with enough determination, he can look for ways to get 10, 20, 1,000 coins, until he finally becomes rich. It all starts by learning how to secure that first thing. Small but clear desires will give enough experience to secure bigger ones later. This is how wealth is built, starting with small amounts, then larger ones as a person learns and gets better. Desires should be simple and clear. Complicated or unrealistic ones often fail. But when someone improves their skills, their ability to make money grows too. Back in the old days, Back then, I was just a poor scribe, writing on clay tablets for a few copper coins a day. I noticed that one of the workers was producing more than me and getting paid better, so I decided I wanted to be the best at my job. It didn't take long to figure out why they were so successful. I started taking more interest in my work, focused more on my tasks, and put more persistence into my efforts. Over time, only a few men could match my daily output while keeping a steady pace. Work helped me gain skills, I was rewarded, and I didn't have to go looking for recognition from my boss 6 times. The more knowledge we gain, the more we can earn. Someone who's always trying to learn more about their profession will be well rewarded. If you're a craftsman, you should learn about the methods and tools used by a more skilled colleague in your field. If you work in law or healthcare, you can get info from others in the same line of work. If you're a merchant, you should always be on the lookout for good products that can be sold at lower prices. Business changes and improves because passionate people are always trying to get better at what they do, so they can serve those who rely on them more efficiently and with higher quality. That's why I encourage everyone to step up and lead the way in progress, instead of standing still and falling behind. There are plenty of things that can enrich a person's life with valuable experiences right here. Here are some resolutions a man should make if he respects himself. He must pay his debts on time, without fail, not take on anything he can't afford. He should take care of his family so they can think and speak well of him. He should make a will so that if the gods call him away, his belongings can be divided fairly and honestly. He must have compassion for those who suffer or have fallen on hard times and help them as much as he can. Opportunities demand attention from those who care about you. So, the 7th and final remedy for lack of money is to develop your own skills, study, gain knowledge, become more capable, and always act with self-respect. This way, you'll build enough confidence to achieve your deepest desires. These are the solutions for lack of money, based on the wisdom gathered over a long and successful life, and I want to share them with everyone who's interested. There's more gold in Babylon, dude, than any of you can even dream of. There's plenty for everyone. Go out and practice these truths so you can keep prospering and getting rich, like it's your right. Go and teach these truths to all the honest people of the kingdom so they can also generously share in the great wealth of our beloved city. And that's a wrap. You've made it to the end of the Richest Man in Babylon series. Congratulations. Now, you've got all the tools you need to build your wealth, make smart financial decisions, and secure your future. The ancient wisdom of Babylon is just as powerful today as it was thousands of years ago, and if you follow these principles, wealth isn't just a dream, it's your future. Remember, the journey to financial freedom doesn't end here, it's just the beginning. So, stay hungry, stay focused, and keep investing in your future. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching this series, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay rich in wisdom, and keep striving for greatness.